all the years of preparation.
The tonsil, let's go! Reps!
All the blood.
Fight for it, hardball, fight for it!
The sweat. And the tears.
Did you ever do this? Beat his ass.
All with one day in mind.
Saturday.
The day when believing becomes achieving.
Saturday.
The day when hype conquers hyperbole.
Saturday.
The day when school prides collide.
So I ask you, are you in?
Yes, no, victory, sir! And then the Royal Mustangs him and kisses purple ash!
Special players. Laying out is Jet Gardner. Makes special plays. Are you kidding me? On special days. Tradition never graduates. It never gets old. And today, that tradition adds another chapter as the #1 team in the nation comes to Kingston looking to finish off a perfect regular season for the first time since 1998. Standing in their way, their arch rivals, the Golden Gaels. It is one of the very best rivalries in all of the CIS. It's Western and Queens. Next on The Score.
You let me know. To quote Kingston's own Tragically Hip, we're looking for a place to happen and we're making stops along the way. Today we've stopped at Richardson Stadium for a showdown between the bitter rivals, the Western Mustangs and the Queens Gaels. Good Saturday afternoon, everybody. I am Paul Brothers. It's the final week of the regular season in the OUA. Here's what we know going into the postseason. Western, top team in the OUA, top team in the CIS, with the win today, undefeated for the first time since way back in 1998. As for the team behind me, the Queens Gaels, they are riding a 5-game winning streak. They are in the playoffs, and they would love nothing more than to beat their arch nemesis on the final week of the regular season. For more on this, we go to DJ Bennett and Tim McAuliffe. Guys, I got a question for you. Is this the best rivalry in the CIS?
You know what, Paul? You know what, nation? I believe it is. You have to take into consideration history, championships, great games, and good old-fashioned hate. And in this case, DJ, check, and check.
And I totally agree with you. And it's not because of the players on the field. It's what it means to the people who used to go to these universities, these institutions, original Big Four, lots of tradition. These two schools have a lot of respect for each other over the years, but they've always hated each other. There's going to be bets on this game in CFL locker rooms across the country, in offices across the country. Nothing has changed. This is a big deal.
All right, enough opinion. Let's go to the facts on this rivalry. And, of course, Queens wins the Grey Cup battle 4-0, but a combined 10 Vanier Cups, 52 Yates Cups, 59 conference championships, 9 Heck Crichton Awards, 18 next-level players right now, 2 of them in the NFL. I don't believe there's any contest here.
No. Maybe Auburn, Alabama in the U.S., maybe Hamilton, Toronto in the CFL, but at this level, no contest.
Some more next-level players on the field today, and even despite the fact Western will be without their freshman phenom, running back Tyler Varga, we have 2 of the top 3 touchdown producers in the nation, a couple great backs, Western's Nathan Riva and Queens' Ryan Ramberg.
And I love these guys because as an old veteran running back, I love that they're savvy veterans, didn't get out the gate quick. Everyone was talking about someone else after the first 2 weeks of the season, but they've put it in 5th gear down the stretch, coming off of 200-yard rushing games last week. They know at this time of year, rushing the ball takes precedence. They've won Yates Cups. They know they have to be big down the stretch for their ball teams.
You mentioned 200-yard games last week, but today represents a true litmus test for both. 2 of the best run defenses in the nation, top 2 in the conference. Western allows just 88 rush yards per game. Queens just 55, thanks in part to a 2-time All-Canadian at defensive tackle and the subject of this week's edition of DJ Spin, O.C. Okwama.
Oh, and I love O.C. I love the big guy because he plays his best in big games against the best competition, and he does it in different ways. against Laval. He shows you the power. That was the best offensive line in 09. The last time we saw him at this level, you can't block him with just one man. He gets home. Then the persistence in the Vanier against Calgary, the second best offensive line, chasing down the best scrambler in the nation in Eric Glavich. He stays with it, then comes back into your screen, makes a big play, chasing him down from behind, won't stop, non-stop motor. Then against Western in the Yates on this field, the speed at first, then the reach. Finishes the play, gets home, brings down the best quarterback at that time, Osiakwoma. Top competition, top level players. He makes the top plays, and he's always been a great player. I don't think anything has changed.
Special players make special plays on special days,
Yes,
and
sir.
this is one of those days, a great rivalry, and one man hoping he has a special day is standing by with Paul Brothers, the head coach of the Gaels, Pat Sheehan. Paul.
Thank you very much, Tim. Coach, one of my favorite quotes of yours is, tradition never graduates. Well, rivalries never graduate either. What does this rivalry mean for your school?
Well, I think this is a great one here. Queens and Western, you're talking about, the better part of 100 years. So there's lots at stake for that psycho-emotional part there. There'll be a lot of Queens ties and purple ties out on Monday, one way or the other.
Western, known for their potent rushing offense. How do you plan on slowing those guys down today?
Well, they're lining up against the #1 rush defense in the league. So a test of wills.
Coach, thank you very much for this and good luck.
You have a good one.
There you go. There's Coach Sheehan on the sidelines. The Queens, it is rivalry weekend on the final Saturday of the regular season in the OUA. Queens Golden Gaels, Western Mustangs, live from Kingston. We're back with kickoff. University Rush, right here and only on The Score.
Back at Richardson Stadium for a classic Big Four rivalry game between Queens and Western on what is a classic Canadian autumn day. Today's playing conditions presented by Centaur Products, your sports contracting specialist and provider of quality sports fields and facilities since 1973. Well, you can comb this country far and wide and you'd be hard-pressed to find two better coaches than the pair that will come together here in Kingston. Greg Marshall, in his 5th season back at his alma mater, owner of 3 OUA Coach of the Year awards and 7 Yates Cup titles, including 3 of the last 4. The lone loss in that run came in 2009 to Pat Sheehan's Gaels, who won an instant classic, his first ever Yates, and went on to capture the only thing that has avoided Greg Marshall's rule as head coach, a Vanier Cup, Sheehan's first and the school's 8th national title. Well, both these teams back on this level despite an 0-2 start. Queens has rattled off 5 straight wins, hoping to make it 6 to close out the OUA season. Live coast to coast on The Score, we are underway in University Rush. Dan Village gets us underway, and Andrew Thibodeau will take it out to the 25-yard line, where we will get our first look at Ben Rossing and the Western Mustangs. Rossing, a highly recruited quarterback out of Halifax, makes his 3rd straight start in place of Donnie Marshall. But DJ, we are expecting to see the redshirt freshman and the 5th-year senior in Ian Noble today.
Yeah, we'll see him at some point for an extended period of time. These guys auditioning, I'd like to say, for Greg Marshall on who could be the guy to fill the void in Donnie's absence.
Rossing on first down will go to the air. Here comes the pressure from that front, looking deep down the sidelines, and he will overthrow the intended receiver, Jordan Noble, part of that starting offense for Western that sees a couple new parts.
They do, and Andrew Thibodeau is an old part that needs to get his groove back. Went off against Queens a year ago. Greg Marshall hopes he gets back on track heading into the playoffs today. And up front, Matt Norman still not 100% with a fracture in his foot. Greg Wilson has stepped up in his absence.
Rossing to throw again on second down. It goes off the fingertips of Cody Campbell, the fullback, and it'll be 3rd down as we take a look at that daunted defense of the Queens Gaels.
The St. Mike's tandem of that front 7 of Wigan and Miniachi are the best run stoppers on the conference's best run defense, and picked on at times last year was TJ Chase Dunois, has benefited from a move inside as a hold player in the complex Queens defensive scheme.
You mentioned that St. Mike's duo, some pretty good football players to go through that football factory in Toronto, including Glenn Young, O.J. Santiago, and Mike Labinjo, who, by the way, have all played in a Super Bowl. Darryl Wheeler in the punt. 3rd in the CIS with an average of 41.7. He'll chase Alex Carroll back to his own 43, and a solid downfield tackle by Mike Spence will limit the return. As we get our first look of the afternoon, Billy Mcphee leads this Gaels offense onto the field after originally committing to Waterloo. Mcphee, a talented sophomore, in his first year as the Queen starter, has found a home here in Kingston.
And he can make all the throws. The thing with him is getting him to the point where he's making all of the decisions and making the right throws.
2 and out on Western's first possession. Queens begins from the 47-yard line. 1st and 10, Mcphee to throw on first down as well. Going deep as well. Got a man wide open, and it is off the fingertips and incomplete. Chris Patrician had the shot at that football. He just dropped it.
Caught a similar ball to this a week ago for a touchdown. Just hung up there, and that's one that he wants back. He'll be the first to tell you that. A guy from St. Mike's, you got to catch that ball.
Mentioning those St. Mike's guys, there's another one who knows he had 6 if he just came down with it. And his 3rd touchdown of the year. Instead, it'll be 2nd and 10 from the 47. Perhaps a freshman on national TV for the first time, feeling the jitters.
No question.
Handed off. Here's the nation's leading rusher, Ryan Gramberg. Hurdles his way to the midfield stripe where he'll be 3 yards short of a first down. As we look at that Queens defense, the offense.
Justin Chapdelaine on this offense has benefited from his move to receiver, has been the most consistent offensive playmaker for this team, and no longer at tackle. Derek Morris is thriving at guard, especially as a trap man in the run game to spring Gramberg.
Both teams 2 and out on offense. I know we may vary on this, DJ, but with these 2 defenses out there, I got a feeling we might see a lot of that.
It's going to be a war of attrition, no question.
There is a Queens hop off the Village punt. It gets by Ben Roberts, who tries to pick it up, but is downed at the 6-yard line by Nick Nucci and company. So 2nd possession of the football game. Ben Rossling will come back out there.
All right, here we go.
And when we talked to Greg Marshall before the game, as he tells Ben what he wants.
I've heard those conversations a couple times, where there's 16 different plays going through his head, and he's saying all of them, and then you eventually have to decipher through it and get one. And the thing with Ben Rossling and why it's going to take a little bit of time for Greg Marshall to learn what he wants is you want to get him something he's comfortable with and something he likes early in the game to build his confidence.
Do we have a flat-out competition to replace Donnie Marshall here today?
I think so, because you're loyal to the guy who gives your team the best opportunity to win, and Ian Noble might be that guy if Rossling struggles.
Rossling delivers the football and completes all the way to the 45-yard line. There is Andrew Thibodeau, a big part of this offense if he can get rolling again.
And it's been a luxury. They haven't needed him because they've run the ball so well. But now that they're struggling to run the ball with consistency, relatively struggling compared to other teams, Thibodeau has to be a guy for them so that they can get plays like that, explosive plays.
Nathan Riva, the ball carrier, still on his feet as he approaches midfield. So after the gain of 35, Riva will pick up at least 6 on first down. And Andrew Thibodeau is a guy that they need to get involved, DJ, and let's take a look at your keys to the game.
And Queens has to get involved. They're quick receivers, too quick. Queens has got to get it to their guys at Prille and Chapdelaine quickly. Sharing is caring. Rossling and Noble, they're going to battle for this spot. They got to share the load, also take care of the football. And can I kick it? Both of these kickers have struggled this year. 55 and 46% is not what Hiralahu and Village expect.
Sam Sabrin knifing through to tackle Riva on what was 2nd down and short. And it'll be 3rd and 5.
And this is going to be a game of field position, a tactical game, and these guys are very comfortable in that sort of old school football mentality. And when I say these guys, I mean these 2 coaches. Greg Marshall hasn't always had explosive offenses. He's won a lot of football games in this conference with running the ball and winning the field position battle. And before Tommy Dennison got here, Queens wasn't throwing it all over the park.
Tommy started it, and you could say that Danny Brannigan finished it with a Vanier Cup in 2009. Alex Carroll will take it to the 22-yard line. Queen's second possession of the football game.
Not a bad lineage here at Queens. Tommy Dennison, then you go to Danny Brannigan, guy who got real opportunities in the CFL. Then you go to Justin Chaplain, whose father is a great offensive mind in the CFL, and then Billy Mcphee, a guy who, when he was in high school, people were talking about him being the next great hope at having a Canadian quarterback in the CFL. Great quarterbacks here at Queens.
Billy McPhee's got a big arm, kind of guy who can throw a strawberry through a brick wall. And on first down, he'll just hand it off to the nation's leading rusher. Gramberg breaks the tackle. He's got speed. It's a foot race. 30, 20, 10, touchdown, Queens. From Ryan Gramberg.
And when you get in a foot race with this guy, it's a spectator sport, because he is the fastest guy on this football team, not a prelay. He shows you that speed on that run.
Shane described him as a track guy who is learning to play football. You saw that flat-out speed once he hit open spaces. Love, peace, and hair grease. Dan Village tacks on the extra point. And the last thing you want to hear if you're an opponent in Queens is the oil thigh. And that's what's playing as Gramberg takes it house. Talked about him in the open, and Ryan Gramberg introduces himself to the nation, coming off a 200-yard performance, an 88-yard run to start the football game.
And the thing with this Alberta boy is when he gets to the second level, it's like you're chasing him on the prairies. He just eats up speed, long strider, and then he outruns angles and scores big plays like you just saw.
Last 2 weeks went for 265 versus Windsor, 240 versus Waterloo. Thibodeau, a big play man of the Mustangs, can't get past the 25-yard line. In fact, he dropped at the 22, which brings back out this Western offense, looking for a counterpunch.
And I want to see how the young Western team responds. These are guys who haven't had a lot of games under their belt, a lot of them doing some spot duty, and haven't played in an environment certainly like this.
That's because there are 11 Western starters on the bench for this football game. Injuries and rest, considering as that wobbler gets out to the outside, and Matt Brazier breaks a tackle out to the 47. His first reception of the season.
And he had to work for it, had to do a little bit of a tip drill, then secure the football, and then when he stays with it, he stays with the run afterwards, finishes it, get that hand down and get to the second level and move the sticks, and give young Ben Rossung some confidence.
Broke a tackle, so you couldn't say down goes Brazier. Instead, a 27-yard gain for the freshman from London. Rossum to pass again. This time he is drilled. Ball pops loose. Queens got it. There's that front seven, DJ.
And it is going to be a baptism by fire for Ben Rossung. And he learned it right there. Not only the hit, but for that pain also. Ball out, man down. And we're turning it over.
John Miniacci, who started as a freshman on that Vanier Cup winning team, forcing it out. And the #1 team in the nation on the ropes early is Queens. Has a 7-0 lead and the ball back. Gramberg to carry. Take it close to the 30-yard line. Let's take a look at that Western defense, DJ.
And that front seven is pretty good themselves. Banged up is MVP Mike Van Prite. Last minute scratch in is Anton Nicolene. And in the secondary, Mike Spence struggled on this field in the Yates Cup. A far better player 2 years removed. He's the rover back there, the guy they depend on for big plays.
Heads up, guys.
A junior out of Burlington's Nelson. 3 interceptions on the year. Staring at Billy Mcphee, who throws it out. Chapdelaine on the reception, and Chapdelaine shoved out at the 10-yard line. And the sticks move on second down for the Gaels.
And in my keys, when I said too quick, that's what I meant. Quick little bubble screen for Chapdelaine, and then just allow him to be an athlete. Great run after the catch ability. Him and Aprile will get a lot of those catches where you look at their average and it's 10-11, but they're really catching it at 2 and 3.
Chapdelaine played QB for this squad last year, decided to make the move to slot back, in part because Billy McPhee's good and perhaps a CFL career. They give it back to Granberg, and he's dragged down by a talented freshman, Darryl Watt.
And back to Chapdelaine, and he took some criticism for his play and the play of the offense last year, and some from us as well. They didn't play well on the score, but a lot of that was the high expectations after Danny left, a defending champion team, and a lot of young guys around him that he counted on to make plays and often didn't, and he took the brunt of it. When you're a quarterback, when things are good, you get the praise, and when they're not, you don't.
2nd and 9. Flag down. Mcphee steps up in the pocket, and he will take it to the 4-yard line pending the flag.
Not something McPhee looks to do often, but especially in the red zone, he's not afraid to tuck it and get a nice, sizable game.
Our referee today is Kevin Horton.
Offside against Gaels.
And it's an offside against Queens. Interesting to see Western push him back.
Offside, Queens. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 2nd down.
Give him another shot, as Mcphee was pretty close to the 1st down, which is available in and around the 3-yard line. Instead, it'll be 2nd and 14. Mcphee, the quick hitter, off the hands of Patrician and incomplete. That'll bring Dan Village onto the field.
The thing with Mcphee and those bubble screens is they're not compassionate, and this guy's arm is so strong, especially when you're doing a bubble screen to the short side of the field. Those passes get on you hot, and as a receiver, you have to be aware that he's going to get it to you with lots of time.
So Village, who has struggled a tad this year, 6 of 13. We'll mark this at the 24-yard line. This one up and good. And the Gaels take an early 10-0 lead against the #1 team in the nation. Sunday, catch James Sharman, KJ, and the crew. 8:30 a.m. Eastern for all your footy needs.
Looking forward to that one. Lamella, big signing from the summer from River Plate, supposed to feature for Roma. Should be a good one.
Nice. Little River Plate reference as Ben Rawson gets it back and attempts to get it back into the hands of Matt Brazier, but it'll fall incomplete.
Rawson, not the scrambler that Donnie Marshall is, but is mobile, is comfortable inside and outside the pocket, and I can't overstate how big of a recruit he was. His highlight tape is one of the best I've ever seen. And throw Glavich, throw Folds in the conversation.
Just pressed into action a little earlier than expected as he goes down the seam, and a flag comes out. The intended receiver was Jesse Bellamy, and you see the look of disgust. I wonder if it was a catchable ball as Josh Sultana was there.
There is no flag on the play. 3rd down.
And I think that's what the conclusion was, not a catchable ball.
Jesse Bellamy has hops and has made some big plays in the past at this stadium, but I don't know if he's going up for that one.
Yeah, he's made a few big plays. Big part of that 2009 Yates Cup, which was an instant classic here on this field.
And it shows you the depth that a guy who comes back a couple years later, a guy who scored a touchdown in that Yates Cup, and he's only dressing in this game as a depth guy. And if they were healthy, probably wouldn't be starting for them.
In fact, he finished in the top 10 in the CIS receiving yards twice before taking some time off and returning this year. Wheeler with a good kick. Carroll from his own 31. And he gets the corner at the 40 to midfield, makes the move. Alex Carroll down the sidelines, and Bo Landry will finally catch him at the 24-yard line of the Western Mustangs.
Two different returners for Queens. Aprilli has short area quickness. Carroll is a long strider. That's why they like the wall returns to the long side of the field. But he shows some quickness as he burns Wheeler trying to make a tackle. Valiant effort by a kicker, but when you got returners like Carroll, you may get embarrassed.
Let's go, baby.
Very close to his second punt return touchdown of the season. He had a 70-yarder versus York. And here we go again. The Gaels knocking on the door. They complete to the outside. And Patrician takes it inside the 10 for another Gaels first down.
And there's something to be said for Western's coming in, resting some starters. No, this doesn't matter. This is a confident Queens football team that is exerting their will on this football game. Guys breaking tackles, guys blocking downfield. This is going to be a team to reckon with down the stretch.
They roll in riding a 5-game winning streak, lost their first 2 of the season. Struggled on offense, but as you can tell, this is a pretty talented O. As it looked like Granberg lost his footing, Pavel Kruba made sure.
And we saw them on our air last year. 3 games, 3 losses, all on the road. And for me, playing against them and covering them over the last decade, they're a different team at home at Richardson Stadium, on this grass, in this historic venue with the fans of Kingston behind them. And someone's going to see them in the quarterfinals. This is a tough, tough out.
Second down, goal to go. Mcphee, end zone for shot. Delane overthrew him. In fact, threw it out the back of the end zone. So Village will come right back out. And you see a little bit of frustration from Coach Sheehan. He knows even if Village knocks this through, this lead could have been larger than 13-0.
Yeah, and you could have demoralized a lot of kids that are getting their first opportunities of playing big boy football in the OUA on the other sideline.
Village 1 of 1, made from 24 earlier in the day. I will spot it at the 16-yard line. A 3-time OUA All-Star. The kick is up and good. So in fact, it is 13-0. Queens Gaels leading the Western Mustangs. The undefeated Western Mustangs in Kingston for the first time since the 102nd Yates Cup. One of the greatest games in OUA history, and find themselves down 13-0. With just under 5 minutes remaining in the opening quarter, Nathan Riva, the ball carry, and hustling to the football are the tricolor. Derek Wiggin finishes off the tackle.
And that play just shows you that front 4, they're so done.
DJ, it's been the big play that has given Queens this 13-0 lead.
Looking for another one here on 2nd and long from that defense.
Rawson looking for Brazier. Andrew Liu on the coverage, and again it'll be 3rd down for the Mustangs.
Tough start for this Western offense. Haven't been able to sustain any drives. A couple big plays, but it's really been Russian roulette for them. They haven't been able to consistently do anything productive on offense, and that's why we've seen a lot of Darryl Wheeler.
Basically 2 plays, Thibodeau catch and a Brazier catch.
Yep.
Wheeler into punt. The last time Carroll touched this, he took it back 54 yards, and perhaps that played into the decision by Wheeler. A flag comes out, and again, the Queens Gaels will be working with a short field when we return to Richardson Stadium. Final week of the OUA season, determining playoff positioning across the conference, and a big game at McMaster, Marauders and GGs, and Mac leads by 7 there. That will determine a first round bye. On 1st and 10, Queens will hand it off, a modest gain on first down, but that is one of the few, DJ. The big play has set up the Queens Golden Gaels here in the first quarter.
And the big play guy of late has not been a Aprile, it's been Granberg, and he's done it on the ground, going from distance, and then defensively, Miniachi, part of that M&M St. Mike's side, makes a big play, give them great field position with the strip, and then you get great field position in the return game with Carroll. Another big play for this Queens offense.
Because of it, lead 13-0. Mcphee finds Aprile across the 35 and down to the 32-yard line, a pickup of 16.
And big play, Aprile doesn't want to be left out, and this is the thing he's doing this year that he hasn't done in the past, settling down in the zone, reading coverage, being a student of the game Monday to Friday, so that on Saturday he can make plays with more than just his athleticism.
12th in the CIS in receiving, but it's not just those 4 touchdowns receiving. He's got 1 rushing, and he's got a couple returning the ball. Granberg on the draw, and the hole closes rather quickly. Get back to the aforementioned big play, Aprile, and DJ. The kid's done it all. Over 20 yards per catch, averaging 40 yards per kickoff return because of 2 touchdowns. He's got 5 of 30 yards or more, 4 more than 80 yards.
And he snuck up on people last year, but this year he's doing it against best defenders, seeing a lot of shades, a lot of coverage to his side, people trying to take him away, and he's still been able to make plays.
And don't let him get warm, because he'll burn you if he does. Looking deep to these sidelines, and Billy Mcphee overthrows Justin Chapdelaine.
Great route by Chapdelaine, using the stem and setting up a pretty good defender, and Hanser and Landry in the zone coverage to that side. This offense, the more reps that Billy Mcphee gets and the more comfort he gets running this team, they can be scary, and we can start to talk about Queens and talk about their offense. And because the conversation when you talk about this group, it is about their defense.
Village will come on to attempt his 3rd field goal of the day. This one from 42. It's long enough, but it is wide to the left. And coming out of the end zone is Calvin Johnson. Makes a move at the goal line, and he will be shoved out of bounds near the 15. He'll throw it out to the 20-yard line. And this Western offense, with 1:23 left on the clock in the first quarter, will try and find a little consistency. And when you have a young quarterback, that's where the struggle is, consistency.
No question. Consistency in snap count, consistency in cadence, consistency in calling the plays and being able to have enough comfort in what you're doing to get guys lined up properly. And then consistency, and when you see it, believe it, because you've prepared, you understand what's going on, so you can just go out there, let it rip and play. He has the tools, he just has to get there in the other factors.
And let's be honest, you got a shot here. You should be down more than 13-0. You're the #1 team in the nation. Rawson on the move, delivers the football, and there you see the arm strength. Flag comes down in the backfield. It was intended for Jesse Bellamy. And you see with and without Donnie Marshall what the difference has been. And let's be fair, 433 yards in the last 2 games, that's pretty good. But when you have the aspirations that Western has, and that is of a Vanier Cup, a Yates Cup at least, you need to be up near the first 5 games.
And the asterisk that we have to tell you about is the fact that Donnie Marshall did it against the conference's best. McMaster, Ottawa, Laurier. Their schedule wasn't as hard down the stretch, and that's why the struggles are that much more important.
Flag was a holding against Western, so it'll be 1st and 20. They hand it off, nothing there for Riva. As we mentioned off the top, this front 4 and moreover this front 7, 55 yards per game, DJ. They haven't allowed a rushing touchdown this season.
Historic, and they're going to be mentioned with the great defenses that have played not just on this campus, but in this country. And that's why you die a slow death. You want to run the ball as a team offensively, but you're just running into a wall nonstop.
Nearing the end of the opening quarter. Second and Gananoque, and Rosson on the move. Have room on Dan for a second, but overthrew him, and Darryl Wheeler will come on back. This Western offense struggling to find their groove. Rosson just 2 of 8 thus far in the football game.
And the defense has struggled down the stretch. And a lot of it is because that guy that you see right there, Donnie Marshall, would make plays to keep the offense on the field when they weren't being productive, give that defense a rest, and the defense paid them back by giving him great field position with which to score points.
Final play of the first quarter, and Wheeler will just take a knee and concede 2 more to the Queens Gaels. 5-2 on the season. They have the undefeated #1 ranked Western Mustangs in town, and after 15 minutes, they have 15 points. Top-ranked team in the nation, the Western Mustangs, down 15-1 after 1 quarter, thanks in part to this scene right here. This is Donnie Marshall before the game, just loosening up the arm. You can see the limp after suffering a high ankle sprain versus York. It's been 3 straight starts for Ben Rosson, but I think we may end up seeing a little more of Ian Noble in the second quarter here.
Because Ian Noble has played at this level before, has played big games, and they want to see if they can fast-track his arm and get him comfortable enough, because mentally he's there. He's just not in football shape because he hasn't been around the team.
A 5th-year senior, a transfer from Laurier, who ended up suiting up for the Mustangs last year, as you see Queens run the ball on first down and pick up close to 6 yards. But Noble is a guy who said, listen, I know the future here is Donnie Marshall. You got this big recruit. I got a lot of things to do with my studies. I'll step away. But if anything happens and you need me, I'm here for you guys. And when Donnie had the high ankle sprain, waiting for Greg Marshall on his doorstep on Monday was Ian Noble.
And Greg Marshall, always a competitor, was trying to get Ian Noble before that to be a long snapper, but now it's even more of a pressing issue that since he needs a quarterback.
Pitch it out to Granberg, and that is a sure-handed tackle by Nick Riva, which will bring in the punting unit, unless Shane decides to roll the dice here on 3rd and short. Punt unit. With a defense like he has, send the punt unit out, no?
I think so. I think you got to continue to give those defenders some confidence. They take it personally when you go for it and don't put them on the field, because they are confident that in 3 plays they're going to be sitting back down on that bench.
So on 3rd and 2, Dan Village from Abbotsford, BC, has this go off the end of his foot, and it will take a hop, picked up by Bo Landry, a very astute football player, take it out to the 45-yard line. So after a 30-yard punt, 9-yard return, and our first quarter stats, DJ favor the Queens Gaels, including the turnover on the Miniachi hit.
They do, and the troubling thing for Western is this right here. Only 2 first downs. I think that's why we're seeing Ian Noble already in this ball game to see if he can jumpstart the team offensively.
When we called that look, 2 of 8 was Rawson. Noble, first pass over the middle, off the hands of Cody Campbell, and incomplete. I think Campbell will tell you he should have had that one.
I think he would, and I think Dan Duff, who's standing on the sideline, is probably saying, I would have had that one. And we evaluate the quarterbacks in a box and just look at them, but you got to look at the guys around them, and all those starters affect how the quarterback will play, and Dan Duff is a guy who is a big part of this offense.
Noble, pressure comes, escapes on the run, and the 5th-year senior will give Western just their 3rd first down of the football game on a gain of 17 yards. And it has been a struggle for their first 6 possessions of this football game. Not only the fumble, but also the safety to end the first quarter.
And the fumble is the one that Greg Marshall is going to harp on this week in practice.
Riva the carry, Sabourin the tackle. Very talented sophomore out of Stittsville, Ontario.
Sabourin as a freshman probably had the best freshman year I've seen at this level, including Chmielewski, including Surla. Just stepped onto an already great defense and made great plays.
Out of the backfield is Garrett Sanvito, but not much available for him as he is dragged down immediately by Ted Festeriga.
As this ball game continues, Sanvito is a name that we'll call more and more. He'll get some touches in the backfield.
And that's the last thing that Pat Sheehan wants to look out and see. John Miniachi laying on the turf.
And Miniachi is a tough, hard-nosed kid, and he doesn't lay on the turf for nothing. So if he's down, he's hurt, because he's not one of the guys who's, I'm laying down because I'm tired.
And we'll check on Miniachi when we return to Richardson Stadium. Gaels leading by 15 in the second quarter. John Miniachi hobbling off the field under his own power. Looks to be good news for the Gaels, but while Western is resting a lot of their bruised and battered, Queens doesn't exactly have the same luxury. They're still fighting, jostling for position as the playoffs hit in the OUA.
And they are on a nice run themselves. Didn't start the year the way they wanted to. Now they're playing and operating at a top level. They're hoping to keep that going into the playoffs. Being healthy is a big part of that.
Wheeler will look to coffin corner Queens, and it will bounce out inside the 5-yard line. So Darryl Wheeler does his job, and Queens will work from the shadow of their own goalposts. Mentioning that playoff positioning, McMaster, speaking of being on a roll, they survive the suspension to their Het Creighton candidate, Kyle Quinlan, and now lead by 14 in the first quarter over Ottawa.
Don't want to look too far ahead, and we're going to be watching scores all across the league, but if it ends up being a Queens-Mac 2-3 matchup, that's going to be a game.
And right now it looks good at that 2-3 spot because Queens leads by 15 here in the second quarter. Mcphee from his own end zone decides to run. He will slide down close to a first down in front of Nick Riva. So Western has clinched first place as we take a look at Mcphee, bring it down. His Gaels will finish third if they beat Western and Mac beats Ottawa. They'll finish fourth if Ottawa beats Mac. So that's the situation.
These scores hold. And then there's obviously some jockeying at the bottom between Guelph and Laurier who do battle today.
Second and short, handed off on the end around and nothing for Shaq Delane. So the Western defense and David Lee come up with a big stick. And there you see that battle of field position, a good punt from Wheeler, and now all of a sudden Ian Noble in this Western offense will be put in a position to succeed.
And Ian Noble is a guy who's aggressive, not afraid to take some shots. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but Ian Noble doesn't know that. And he is looking to stretch the field. Some quarterbacks read the defense's low-high. He reads it high-low and checks the ball down only if there are no other options.
You wonder if Pat Sheehan will decide to just give up the 2 and continue that battle of field position. No, Village will kick it away. I don't think he wants to concede the first 2 points of the game via a safety. Benny Roberts had that ball pulled out late, but they will rule that he was down. Frank Pankowicz was there to rip it loose.
Other thing those defenders take personal is when they have a shutout and you give it away.
Darn right.
Those guys talk about it in the meeting rooms all week, their defensive goals, how many first downs they want to allow, how many rushing touchdowns they want to allow. For these guys, it's 0. And they talk about shutouts, and that means a lot to those guys. It's surprising how much they pride themselves on that stuff.
Close there on whether or not the knee was down, but the whistles did go as Noble goes deep and is picked off. TJ Chase Dunawa comes up with it, and Queens gets it right back.
Well, we said Noble looks to go deep early and often, and his deep threat is Thibodeau. And Thibodeau and Noble were on different pages of the playbook because they did not connect. And TJ Chase Dunawa is the beneficiary of that. He makes a nice play. And that defense says, this is why you don't give up 2, because we give it right back to you.
We're very. Hey, hold on. DJ, hold on. Hey, yours is a little. We got to shout out all the boys in Guadalupe.
All of them.
We miss you.
So Dunawa's 4th interception gives it back to this Gaels offense, and Ryan Granberg met by several white shirts.
Our great camera work, and the mics picked it up there. You heard TJ Chase Dunawa say redemption. And this is a team that didn't play well against Western out Western last year. He didn't have a good day. Thibodeau caught a touchdown pass on him. They've been talking about it. Laurier beat him up pretty bad last year. They got the revenge. And it looks like this is a team motivated to get the revenge against Western here today.
That was Thibodeau's first start as a member of the Mustangs. Caught 4 balls for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns. From the 11, 2nd and 7, great adjustment to the football by Chapdelaine. Makes the reception in front of Landry and picks up a first down.
And this is why Chapdelaine makes the team better as a receiver, because Mcphee and Chapdelaine at this point of their development, they're arguably around the same level quarterbacks, but Chapdelaine gives them another great slot receiver in the lineage of great slot receivers that they've had at this school.
We've had some pretty good receivers, period. Valber, Spear, Plain, Fleming,
Smith.
Granberg, following in the lineage of Mike Giffen, takes it off right tackle and picks up another first down. 12 yards.
And that's a great comparison, Mike Giffen. He's a bit smaller, probably a bit faster, but runs same style. Great on those zone reads. A one-cut guy with so much speed. You think of fast backs and they make a lot of moves in the hole. Not Granberg. He just gets it and hits it.
You see Greg Marshall and the intensity personified. Granberg again. Swallowed up. Lost a couple. 4 to be exact. It'll be 2nd and 14. And for Granberg, it's been an evolution this year. First 2 games of the season, 65 yards. Last 4 games, however, 804 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's why he leads the CIS in rushing.
And he was a guy who gave them depth on that Vanier team with Jimmy Terrian. Now he is taking the entire load, and the difference is you take all the bumps and bruises, something he had to learn early as a starter, and you see he's learning it still late in the year as he's down on this play.
You see they're pushing his neck and moving it back and forth. So as Pat Sheehan peers out in the field, and here this the second quarter, he's seen not only John Miniacci go down, but now his star running back, Ryan Gramberg.
Two guys that they'll be counting on to make a deep, deep run once again. Two guys that gave them great contributions when they won the Vanny. So not only are they great players, but they've been there, done that. So unlike Aprile, unlike Carroll, they understand what it takes to win big games with all the eyes watching them.
2nd and 14. Craig Russian is the backup. They throw incomplete to Aprile, who is just tripped up. Shoestring tackle by Calvin Johnson limits the gain to 6, and it'll be 3rd down.
Calvin Johnson is a great athlete and did a good job to stick with it, but Aprile is such a good athlete that he almost made the tackle for Johnson. Gives him a move, then gives him a second move and got back into his path. Deked him out so hard, he helped him make the play.
I think Calvin Johnson, you try and play wide receiver, or you just avoid playing wide receiver altogether.
Or you say, just give me the damn ball.
Not sure if he's Megatron, but he made the tackle. And because of it, Western gets the ball back with San Vito. Trying to dance his way across the 45. He'll take it to the 47, and that's where Western will take over when we return to Richardson Stadium. Queens owns the conference top-ranked scoring defense, total defense, and run defense. Western owns the OUA's top scoring offense, top offense, and #1 rush offense. In fact, they lead the nation in all 3 categories as well. But right now, it's been the Queens defense that has won the battle. Just 23 rush yards for Western, most of that coming from Ian Noble, who completes on 1st down. Thibodeau, who absorbs and picks up 8 near midfield. But to be fair for this Queens defense, kind of know with Donnie Marshall out of the lineup, you can just pin your ears back and go at him.
You can, and he helps that run game because he sets the edges and he's a threat to run as well, so you don't have to block as many guys.
Looks like they got their signals crossed up, and because of it, Noble dragged down by Ted Festoriga for a loss of 3 and 3rd down, and that's some of the struggles you have with a guy who didn't start the year in training camp.
Exactly, he's not as comfortable with this mesh exchange, and the thing about Marshall, if something breaks down, oftentimes that's when he makes his best plays. Other quarterbacks, the same can't be said.
This looked like the read, and Noble didn't want to give it up.
And as a quarterback in that zone read defense, you're reading keys down the field, reading D linemen, and if it's not something you've done for a while, you're not comfortable with it with the live bullets.
Wheeler to kick, Carroll to receive. Alex Carroll cuts it back to the 32-yard line. And once again, we'll see Billy Mcphee in the offense. And I'm not sure if you picked it up, but our audio guy's doing a great job. Greg Marshall says to Ian Noble, just give it. And there you see the old running back, the Crichton Award-winning running back, speaking his mind to his quarterback.
And the thing is with Donnie, when he's making those decisions, you have virtually a running back playing quarterback. But Greg Marshall's saying, when in doubt, give it to the running back. Chances are he'll do something better with it than you will.
1st and 10 Gaels. From the shotgun and the 33, McPhee completes. Carroll cross midfield before finally being brought down by Luke Retta to gain a 23.
And that's a big play and a big completion, but the great thing about that, that's a great read, a great ball in a great spot. In between the seams of the cover 3, the only place you can put that ball hits him in stride. Great decision by Billy Mcphee and a great physical throw.
Carroll in his 2nd year from Victoria, BC. This Thomas Howes on the reception. 5 yards to the big slot back, 6'5", 224.
The thing I like about Mcphee in relation to seeing him last year, in warm-ups I saw him throw, and mechanically he's better, ball's a little bit higher, out of his hand a little bit quicker, but the decision-making is so much better. He is inviting the blitz, and lots of times when you're a young quarterback, you're afraid of the blitz, you're scared. Now he's been there, done that, he's seen it before, and he's looking forward to exploiting it.
Handed off on first down, and Ryan Granberg back in the football game, so that's good to see if you're a Gaels fan. He is close to a first down, but it'll be 3rd and 1. That looks like the big unit for the Gaels, as you see several players jogging onto the field, which means they will go for it on 3rd and short.
I want to watch Darryl Watt on this play. A big, tall guy has to play with leverage and get low, and this is a learning experience for him, playing a lot of snaps today against a great offensive line. Who's going to win the battle of leverage?
99 White, and they run it with Mcphee on the naked bootleg, and he will pick up the first down. Kyle Kuba shoved him out of bounds. Well, you didn't need to see Watt on that one.
No, it didn't matter how low he got, because Billy Mcphee with the naked bootleg just needed a couple, and he got it.
First down at the Western 40-yard line. Gaels leading 15-0. Under 5 minutes remaining in the first half. Granberg again, off right side. Stretch out to the 31, gain of 9.
And the thing that Queens is doing is they're getting to the second level and allowing Granberg to get out the gate and get positive yards. When we're talking about the tackles, they're by defensive backs. Haven't talked about the linebackers of Western. Kruba made a play, but haven't talked about Lucaretta. Nick Riva we only brought up once. He's getting free, and safeties and halfbacks have to take him on at the second level.
Already 14 carries, make it 15. Straight up the gut. Granberg down to the 10-yard line. A pickup of 20 yards.
Not only a pickup of 20 yards, but again, second level, gets through easy, and then a big block kicked out, and then he's untouched and finishing it by falling forward.
Well, he's up over 150 yards. Aided by an 88-yard touchdown run in the first quarter. Queens knocking at the door again. They'll give it right on back to Granberg. And Poe Landry finally says enough is enough. Limits the gain to 1 at best.
And this Western defense at times has struggled, but it's been through the air and against the pass, and they've given up some big plays, haven't made plays on the ball, given up some PIs, but this is demoralizing because it's been run down their throat.
All right, we have hit the 3-minute warning here in Kingston, with the Gaels leading by 15 and knocking at the door.
When I talk about Granberg getting free and getting to the second level and that Queens offensive line, getting those big bodies down the field on smaller players, this is what I'm talking about. Out the gate and then getting down on Riva, getting down so he can get to the second level easily and make big plays.
The big fellas up front doing their job. Princeton, Sirio, Sullivan, Morris, and Kendrick, which gives them the opportunity to add to this 15-0 lead. Billy Mcphee straight back, looking to the outside, and Aprile! And Dan Village will come back out.
But that's a good mistake by Mcphee, and we saw that route in a big spot in a ball game last week where Shane Kelly hung it up, had it high, and the safety came and made a play. He threw it away, led Aprile away from the defender, threw him open, and if you miss as an incompletion, not as an end zone interception.
So Village 2 of 3 on the day from 17. The kick is up, and it is good. And the Queens Golden Gaels lead the #1 team in the nation by 18.
Go Gaels, go!
They've been going 18 unanswered. And under 3 minutes left in the opening half, #1 team in the nation in trouble here on the road. Noble completes to the outside. Thibodeau with a nice catch and a pickup of 11 on first down.
He's a guy who has to be featured now that some of the big guns are down as the #1 option. They thought he would be their #1 option regardless when everyone was healthy, but has had a down year, and they want him to get his swag back. He was a confident and dominant player down the stretch. They need that player if they want to go far this year.
Last year he had 404 yards receiving, most of that coming after his first start in week 6 of an 8-week schedule. Pump and go. Noble gets crossed up there with Thibodeau, who wanted a flag for a hold there.
Got tied up with TJ Chase Dunowa, who, as I mentioned earlier, was the brunt of a big day by Thibodeau last year and has grown. And you have to have a short memory as a defensive back. And he's come back, TJ Chase Dunowa, and had a real nice year for them. And I think he might be an OUA All-Star for this team.
Third-year player out of Toronto. As Noble runs a quarterback draw straight up the gut and takes a pop. Pankowicz went low. Sam Sabarin went high.
Yeah, and Sabarin has a nose for the football, and he's going to be around the pile. You're not going to find him on the outside by the hash marks not making plays.
Well, it's third down, and we'll call it 5, DJ. And that offense is staying out there. The ultimate gunslinger is back. They've gone for it 32 times on third down. Make it 33. Noble delivers and completes, good for the first down, as Jesse Bellamy makes his first reception of the football game.
And Jesse Bellamy might find himself in the rotation as they look for someone to step up as a 4th and 5th receiver on this offense, just because of that, because he was the hook guy for Michael Fultz. He was the guy that allowed them to move the sticks. With more pocket passers, a guy like that is so much more important and valuable to the quarterback.
Just over 2 minutes remaining, opening half. Western looking to get on the board, completes the outside. Thibodeau, but a sure-handed tackle by Matt Webster will limit the gain. Call it 5.
And they'll huddle here, but Western stepping up with the tempo, also calling a lot of the plays on the line. Thibodeau didn't even go back to the huddle. He just stayed out at his wide end spot. They want to play with tempo, and they're starting to do it now.
Thibodeau, top of your screen. Garrett Sanvito waiting for blocks, bounces it outside. I'm not sure if he should have, because he's awfully close to the first down. Had he edged it forward there, he may have picked it up. Instead, 3rd and 1. It's a youngster.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a great call by you, because you have to understand situation, and he hadn't achieved the yards gain. He was trying to go outside to make the big play and not the smart play first.
3rd and 1. Noble the pass going deep. Some contact, no flags, and they'll turn it over on downs. Matt Brazier got tied up. And there seems to be confusion between coach and quarterback.
There seemed to be confusion on a lot of players on both sides of the ball. Western initially looked like they may have got Queens on an offside with a hard count, and then the play that was called originally, despite that hard count, they still went with.
It's almost like Noble was expecting the flag to come out and figured out, take a shot.
Might as well take a shot.
Handed off to Chapdelaine. Some good pursuit there. Ends up with the tackle of Nick Riva, the brother of Nathan.
seeing so much of this in the Canadian game, and it's come from the American game with those slot receivers that are pretty much running backs, guys like Chapdelaine, guys like Dylan Heap, guys like Jed Gardner, just giving them the ball in jet sweep motion. It's basically same blocking rules as a toss to your running back, but you give it to a fast receiver.
How about a fast runner? Granberg not able to get the legs churning, though, as he's dragged down quickly by Marcus Babick. So it'll be third down for the Gaels, and they'll give it back to Western with just over a minute remaining in the opening half.
So that miscommunication by Noble and Brazier and not picking up that third and short didn't hurt them as much as you might think. And this is an offense with a minute left in this half. It kind of feel like they need something to go into the locker room and hang their hat on and feel good about. Because the speech from Greg Marshall, I'll tell you what, it won't be warm and it won't be cheery. They're not going to feel good about that.
Again, if you're just joining us, Western already has the top spot in the OUA locked up. They have 11 starters down in this football game, including their starting quarterback, Donnie Marshall, who probably won't be back by the time that they hit the field once again 2 weeks from now. They've already earned the first round bye.
Well, if you tell that guy, Donnie Marshall, he won't be back, he might punch you in the face because he thinks he's going to be back.
I don't know if he wouldn't do that to me.
He's a Marshall. So
he is a Marshall.
But his father, I'm not sure if he's sold he'll be back, but we'll have to see.
His father would hit me in the face, I know that. Village back into punt. Ben Roberts awaiting the kick. End over at middle of the field. He's got a chance, but a sure-handed tackle by the first man down, Anthony Marino, will force the Mustangs to start from the 41-yard line.
Marino is a guy who shares some time on defense, but he doesn't share time on special teams. He's on all their specials, is one of their best coverage guys, and he's a guy, because he's so dominant on specials, forget about what he does on defense, he might find himself a job in the CFL.
Another St. Mike's guy, a junior from Woodbridge, Ontario. Went to St. Mike's in Toronto. Noble decides to run. First down and more into Queens territory, and finally pulled down at the 39-yard line.
Well, apparently when Noble was studying his law books, he was watching some tape of Donnie Marshall, because this is an Ian Noble that we didn't see at Laurier, where he transferred from, and we didn't see in his 1 year at Western.
Pick up a 31, goes back to pass, and he is sacked. A pair of Gaels get there, Ukwoma and Wiggin. So there is OC, the fifth-year senior.
And OC Ukwoma says, okay, I'll adjust accordingly. Instead of rushing to a spot because I think you're a pocket passer, I'll just step that up, and when you look to pull it, I'll put you down.
The sack forces up a second and long. And that is complete to San Vito. Across the 35 and to the 33.
And San Vito needed everything to bring that one down. Queens thought he dropped it, but he squeezed those legs and kept it in.
Got a man down on the field. That's OC Ukwoma. So another big name for Queens taking a knee on the turf.
Yeah, it seems like everyone with OUA All-Star
beside their name
is taking a knee and is beside the training staff here in Kingston, Ontario. And that's why Western is resting the amount of guys that they are, because it only takes one, and one being a play, and you lose a big guy for an extended period of time. They learned that the hard way with Donnie Marshall. They learned that the hard way with guys like Mike Faulds in the past, and they're playing it safe, because you never know.
And Ukwoma was a great addition to this team. If you don't know, took a year off after being drafted in the 5th round by the Calgary Stampeders. He also in law school, so heavily into the books, but when he's on the field, you better account for number 91.
Yeah, and D. Sterling, CFLer, was on a D-line with him. Shamari Williams, CFLer, was on a D-line with him. For me, he was the hardest to block when he played with those guys.
And it's interesting because Queens just took a timeout to get Ukwoma back onto the field. That's the respect you see from the coaches, Pat Tracy, defensive coordinator, Pat Sheehan.
Yeah, that's how valuable this guy is. And Ukwoma says, okay, you're going to take a timeout. I'm going to gingerly walk on the field and take my time. But he's the guy, like I said, at the beginning of this game, can beat you rushing the passer in different ways. And just one of those guys that when it's a big spot, you need a big sack, the team is driving, crowd is on their feet, he dials it up and brings that much more energy to get home and make a play.
I mean, 3rd and 5, and with this defense pitching a shutout thus far, I figured we'd give Pat Tracy, the defensive coordinator, his shutout to his daughter Devin, who is watching at Laurier today. Pop and his boys doing a job thus far. But a big 3rd down here. Noble, back to pass, dumps it over the middle. Adjustment made by Thibodeau. The reach, did he get there? I'm not sure he did.
It's going to be an interesting spot. And again, that timing, had to reach for that ball, wasn't able to catch it in stride. And if he does, he might still be running. And now it's a measurement.
He pulled it in with one hand. He knew it, though, when he caught it. And a good stretch, but they didn't get it. No measurement needed. Our referee, Kevin Horton, says turnover on downs, and the shutout, at least in the first half, looks like it will remain intact. You hear the chants of overrated ringing out. I'm not sure if the fans are fully aware of 11 starters being out for Western.
If they care.
4th turnover of the football game. A couple of them coming on downs. As Granberg gets the carry. He's tackled again by Nick Riva. We shuffled these linebackers for Western as we head closer to the half, and the starters now Kruberetta and Riva. Riva has made a couple tackles in this football game.
And the guy who was the highly recruited of the bunch was Blake, and he's giving them depth. Rita, to start the year, wasn't even in the conversation as a guy who will be a factor for this football team. Now he's their starting middle linebacker.
And they will be tested here in the second half because the #1 team in the nation is down by 18 in Kingston as the Golden Gaels look to make it 6 straight wins after an 0-2 start to the season. So you send it down to Paul Brothers, who's standing by with Greg Marshall. Paul?
Thank you very much, Tim. Coach, you're visibly frustrated. I'm wondering what angers you the most from that first half.
Well, you know what? We just didn't, play very consistently on offense. And, I think we got to start making some plays. And you know what? We're just finding ways to break down. And it is a little frustrating, but we'll be okay. We'll come back and, regroup and play well in the second half.
You've been known for your comebacks the past few weeks. How do you come back and take this one?
Well, you know what? It's getting kind of first down at a time, and see if we can block a little bit better on the offensive line. Right now, they're handling this pretty good, and then give credit to Queens. They did a good job this first half.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good luck in the second half. There's Coach Marshall. Western Mustangs trailing Queens by a score of 18-0. When we come back, we'll check that AMJ Campbell out-of-town scoreboard and a great story by the scores DJ Bennett on the Queens Gaels of 2009. University Rush on the score. Welcome back to University Rush on the score, where it's the Queens Gaels ahead of the Western Mustangs 18-0. I've been in Kingston for the last 24 hours, and I see this queue everywhere, from Brandy's right up to the Ale House, over to the Grizzly. The queue means everything in Kingston, and it meant everything to the 2009 Vanier Cup champion Queens Gaels. Here with the story on the queue tattoo, here's the scores. Donovan Bennett.
At Queens, you're not a football player for 4 years. You're a player for life. The bond runs deeper than the tricolor they wear proudly. It is worn as a badge of honor in ink, a simple symbol that brands the great Queen stars of past and present. They represent the Q.
Before it may have come up, if in conversation, maybe mostly as a joke, maybe say like, yeah, if we won, yeah, we'll get tattoos maybe one day, you know, so we'll see what happens. But we never really had a good enough excuse to get one. And so after winning the Vanier, we figured we gotta do something special.
There was 6 of us originally that came in the first day, including my dad, and then by the end of the day, I think there was 8 guys that had already gotten the tattoo, and then by the end of the week, it was 10 or 12, and then now I think there's almost 20 guys.
I wasn't sure if I wanted to get it right away. I had to debate with myself, I guess. Getting a tattoo, I guess, is a big thing. But once considering it such a meaningful event, and saying the tattoo binds all the guys from that Vandy team that got it together even more.
Vandy year was my first year on the team, and I was one of the few that was fortunate enough to be able to play. I ended up being one of the last batch of guys.
Why did I get it? Well, same reason everyone else did.
It shows like a brotherhood. It's nothing really individual, something that we share with a bunch of guys, and you know, it's something that we share now with like even the alumni.
It just says how tight-knit group of guys we are year in, year out.
Well, that's just what the guys are like here. They, you know, we do everything together. You know, like we study together, we live together, we eat together. Like practice, like on and off the field, we do everything as a team. So it made sense to, it's a simple decision to do it together.
Those were my teammates, and you know, those were the guys that I shared that, you know, moment with. You know, those were the guys that like we huddled around, hoisted the trophy.
Something that's pretty cool, and hopefully next generations of players and recruits and guys, I mean, if they make another Vanier, hopefully they do it.
Well, I didn't tell my parents I was getting it before, so I just had it one day, and they liked it actually, which is surprising.
A lot of people like the tattoo. They like the whole idea behind it. I mean, so many guys on the team from that 09 team got it. So it's kind of a brotherhood thing, and it's pretty cool to share with all those guys.
A lot of my friends are in CIS as well, and you know, they see it and be like, wow, like you guys actually did it and stuff like that. And you know, now when they look at the tattoo, just, you know, everybody remembers that season type of thing. Everybody respects it.
You might have to put a little bit more ink underneath the Q saying, I think we won in 09, so I guess it'd be XLV, II. I guess we'll have to get that under the Q or figure out something.
Oh, most definitely. You know, maybe even, you know, leave some room, because I still got a few more years, so leave some room for some extra ones just in case.
They are very happy at Richardson Stadium. The Queens Gaels lead the Western Mustangs by a score of 18-0. We're back with the second half and the out-of-town scoreboard after this on The Score.
The year was 1992, and the Queens Golden Gaels completely dominated the St. Mary's Huskies, posting the first and only shutout in Vanier Cup history. Brad Elberg scored 3 touchdowns and was named player of the game after rushing for 136 yards. Queens went on to win 31-0 in front of over 28,000 fans at Skydome, capturing their 3rd Vanier Cup.
This Vanier Cup vintage moment has been brought to you by Wilson, the official football of the OUA.
Welcome back to Richardson Stadium, where the score is Queens 18, Western 0. Let's take a look at that cross-Canada scoreboard brought to you by AMJ Campbell Van Lines. Laurier, Guelph tied at 3 at the half. McMaster up big on Ottawa, 45-10. That's in the second. Elsewhere, Toronto up big on Waterloo, 28-6. And one out of town, Acadia over St. Mary, 17-14. Out on the East Coast. Cross-Canada scoreboard brought to you by AMJ Campbell Van Lines. AMJ Campbell, proud partner, official mover of Ontario University Athletics. AMJ Campbell, moving made easy. The ball was moving easy for Queens in the first half, and here are the first half highlights. Upstairs we go to DJ Bennett and Tim McCullough. Guys.
Thank you very much, Paul, and I guess you could say the opposite was true for the Western Mustangs. Now, they averaged 529 yards per game, first in the nation in offense, without Donnie Marshall, without Tyler Varga, without Matt Norman and company. They produced just 166 yards of total offense in that first half. And Queens able to take advantage, thanks in part to Ryan Granberg, who went off for 150 yards in the opening half on the ground, including this 88-yard scamper.
And the more telling fact is that Queens did it often with ease, could have put more points on the board if they capitalized in the red zone. And a lot of the points that Western got, a lot of the yards that they got,
came from broken plays of Ian Noble scrambling, not true offensive football that Greg Marshall would like to see.
That doesn't help either, DJ Bennett. 4 turnovers for the Western Mustangs in that opening half. Yet, they find themselves down just 18. And if you had have looked at those statistics and the quality of this Queens offense, you might think that Western could be down more than 18.
You're right, and the struggles for this team are not new. They're playing the best defense they've faced in a while, but they're not new. They've struggled down the stretch to manufacture points, but they've been able to find ways to win late and make enough plays to get out with a victory. Whether or not they're able to do it here today because Queens didn't blow them out in that first half, we'll just have to wait and see.
Lirum Hairulahu with the opening kickoff of the second half. And Aprile wanted to let it roll out of bounds, but it didn't cooperate with him. Had to pick it up and took it to the 16-yard line. So Queens gets it here in the second half to start, leading the #1 team in the nation by 18.
And this defense of Western will finally be able to defend a long field. Since the game has started, Queens winning that battle of field position for the most part of that first half. And again, Billy Mcphee enjoying the maturation of him turning into a young but talented quarterback to a decent and comparable starter in their walk.
Double tights handed off to Granberg, who bounces it to the left side and forces Aaron Hanser about 3 yards downfield after initial contact. It's a pickup of 13 and now 163 yards rushing for Ryan Granberg.
And the key words there were Aaron Hanser and pickup of 13. And that's why he's getting those first down runs, because the first guy to touch him constantly are defensive backs, and he's able to drive them forward for additional yards and first downs.
Called him the bell cow in the opening of this game, and it's exactly what he's been. Already 19 carries as they run bootleg action, looking deep and got a man wide open, shot the lane. One man to beat, that's Hanser. Stiff arm and dragged down at the 10-yard line. The bootleg action caught the Stangs, and because of it, a 71-yard catch and run.
And Justin Chapdelaine was licking his lips as this ball was waiting to get to him, was wide open, and then he's just deciding, am I going to trust my speed or do the cutback? Trust his speed, doesn't get to the end zone, but does get a very nice gain for this Queens offense and another big play.
First possession of the second half, and Queens looking to add to their 18-point lead in the red zone at the Western 7. The undefeated Mustangs feeling the heat on the road at Richardson Stadium. Mcphee, end zone, Carroll, no good. Went down to the turf to try and pick it up, but just couldn't get it. He was open.
And again, another great decision by Mcphee. The ball was a bit low. Carroll still probably would tell you he should have caught it, but Mcphee knew where he wanted to go with the ball in the red zone, made it his decision, got his hips around, got in throwing motion, got it there quickly on the line.
Keep harping on the decisions, but that was what everyone was waiting for from Billy Mcphee, and it seems as though he's found that decision making. This one, again, incomplete. He hit Chapdelaine in the chest, but as he slid to the ground, the ball popped loose.
Chapdelaine, as a former QB, knows that down in the red zone, he's going to have man coverage, and as a former QB, he can look over and see the signs and know early what routes he's going to have to run. He knew he had a great leverage on the defender. That should have been a touchdown.
Dan Village looking for his fourth field goal of the afternoon from 14 yards away. He's got the range, and because of it, the Queens Golden Gaels lead by 21. The Queens Golden Gaels looking to crack the national top 10 with their 6th straight victory at home to the undefeated Western Mustangs, lead by 21. Normally, I would say, DJ, at this point, that they've left a lot of points on the board and that may come back to haunt them, but the way their defense is playing is they're back out on the field and Garrett Sanvito tests them with a run-off right side, picking up 9. But given the way this defense has played, I'm not sure I'd be worried at 21-0 if I'm Pat Sheehan.
When you add to the equation the way this defense has played all year and playing even better today, and the struggles Western has had coming into this game against weaker competition, and the struggles they've had today, the points they've left on the board may not hurt them.
Noble pushes forward on 2nd and 1 to pick up the first down. And there you see the differential between today and what Western has done through 7 weeks of the season. Here's pressure. Ukwoma tosses him down at the 35-yard line. A loss of 13 on the play.
And that's why that man has been called the best defender in the country at times. That's why that man is mic'd up for sound here today. And that's why that man says you must bring at least 2 defenders to me at all times, because he is a load to block.
And that's why that man is listed among my award winners in the OUA.
Ooh, interesting. You
2nd and long, Noble tried to find Thibodeau. It'll fall incomplete, and Darryl Wheeler will come back out to punt.
Interesting you say that in the 3rd quarter after he's got busy on the Western offensive line. Interesting. I mentioned him in the opening of the broadcast. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Just to be fair, DJ, we selected most of our award winners before the telecast today.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And we will unveil them somewhere in the 4th quarter.
I don't know what you're talking about, bandwagon jumper.
These ankles are not taped, DJ. Good punt from Wheeler. Carroll with a chance, beginning from the 25. Down the sidelines, Alex Carroll just tripped up at the Western 50. Wheeler doesn't get him. Carroll's still going.
Yeah, Wheeler, once again, didn't get him. Did enough at the end to slow him up, but Alex Carroll just finds a seam and hits it, and Wheeler makes him cut back and gets an assisted tackle, maybe, if we're being generous.
Outkicked his coverage, 49-yard punt, 36-yard return from Carroll. And Queens goes back to work with a short field, called the Western 49. Way outside, Giovanni Aprile breaks 2 tackles, lowers the shoulder, picks up 14 and ignites his bench in the process.
And that's why you got to get it to a guy like Aprile quickly, because he's too strong, too fast. Get it to me quick. Then hey, listen, I'm too strong for you. You didn't learn? I'm still too strong for you. Move the sticks.
6'3", 213 in his 2nd year of eligibility out of Scarborough's Senator O'Connor. Mcphee stepping up in the pocket, and he will slide down at the 30, pick up 6 first down yards.
Great play by Mcphee. Wanted Howes deep down the seam, wanted to unleash it, didn't like what he saw, so he pulled it down, ran with it, got a nice gain, then did the Robbie Alomar slide into second base because, as a smart QB, he doesn't want to get hurt.
I thought you were going to say catch the taste, but
oh, jeez.
Sliding in.
Why? Come on.
Sliding into the.
Is McCain's giving you money? What's wrong with you?
Maybe 20 years ago. To the flats, complete again to Giovanni Aprile. Makes a move, flag down. Howes questions it. Now they shove him out at the 11-yard line. So it'll be a first down pending what transpired. I think it was a hold after the catch. 20-yard gain for now.
And that's one in the meeting, in the film room, you're going to have to pay the piper and put some money in the jar. Because when a guy has a move like that, and it comes back for a penalty, you have to say, all right, put some money in the fund, and I got this one. Sorry, receivers.
On Queens, after yards were gained, 10-yard penalty, first down Queens.
I don't think the crowd agrees with the call, but nonetheless, they will move them back. After yards gained, it means 1st and 10. Call it the 34.5-yard line. But there you see the skills of Giovanni Aprile.
Sporting the pink gloves today in support of breast cancer awareness.
Ryan Gramberg off right tackle. He'll take it to the 28-yard line. Add 7 more to his total. And interesting, we knew he had track speed, but it seems like, given the first time we've seen him this year, they like to get him to the edges.
They do. They get him to the edge, and then that allows him to decide if he wants to stretch it or if he wants to cut it back against the grain. But he gets the edge so quickly with that track speed, he's allowed to make that decision.
Give it to him again. Luke Retta was the first man in the backfield. Got some help from David Lee. Continues to play.
David Lee, one of the only guys who's been healthy for this defense all year, has been a player, and he took away that cutback lane, stayed at home, smart football player, and really stepped up in the absence of Xander Robinson, who's now playing for the Toronto Argos in the CFL.
Lee with 5 sacks, and that's a tackle for a loss, so 9 tackles for a loss. As you see, Queens run on Dan Village, who will punt instead of attempting a long field goal into a stiff breeze. Trying to coffin corner, but it spins back towards the middle, and Ben Roberts, who draws a flag for no yards, and then is hit hard at the 10-yard line. We'll sort out the laundry on the turf when we return to Richardson Stadium. Western will get the ball down 21. Ian Noble still in the football game for the Western Mustangs. We were told before the game we may see both of them interchanging, but it's been Noble since the first quarter. Either way, no points on the board with a flag down and Riva down with no gain. Boy, Riva and San Vito have struggled. Are you surprised to see Riva still in the football game, as it looks as though he takes a pop to the left arm?
Yeah, and it looks like he's wincing a little bit. And, you know, Riva's a guy who struggled with injuries at times, struggled with...
On Western, 10-yard penalty from the previous line of scrimmage, repeat first down.
Struggled with injuries on this field at times, and he's a guy who you need him at 100%. It's like a finely tuned, high-performance automobile, and he's really he's not as good to you and for you when he's only at 75 or 80%.
Fake the handoff to Riva, dump it off out of the backfield. Ball's loose, picked up by Queens. Touchdown, Josh Sultana. And the Gaels continue to pour it on the #1 team in the nation.
Well, not only do they not allow touchdowns, now they say, hey, let's challenge ourselves. Let's score touchdowns. Scoop and score. Sultana shows you the balance, then shows you 6 points. And then the entire defense congregates when you get a score on defense, because everyone is a part of it. And once again, we hear that band, and the students sing that song.
James Soufakis, the fullback, lost the football. Sultana scoop, score, and it's 27-0 pending the extra point.
We talked about the defense here at Queens, the defensive mentality, and a lot of it has to come from Leroy Blue, a guy who has the talent to be running a program in this country. What a great gift he was coming down here, running an already great defense, helping the defensive linemen, changing the mentality for them to be aggressive. And a lot of this great defense that we've seen, great run stuffing, has come from a guy who's a great run stuffer in his own right at the programs.
The new defensive line coach aiding and abetting a 28-point Queens lead. Western Mustangs are going to need a Sherpa to get out of this hole. Down 28-0 on the road in Kingston. Ben Dandria was the man who forced the fumble. And the #1 team in the nation, undefeated on the season, albeit resting at least 10 starters in this football game. But if you go back to the start of the season, missing 11. Here's Ben Roberts looking for something. Left side, flag down, and so is Roberts at the 20, call it the 30-yard line.
Ben Roberts, a guy who I expect to see some carries at some point if this game continues to get out of hand and gets out of reach for Western. And at this point, they're just looking for answers, looking for something to give them a spark. This is as flat a Western sideline.
Return, holding, Western, 10-yard penalty, first down Western.
This is as flat a Western sideline, a Western huddle, a Western team as I've seen in a long time.
And it's interesting because you head into the first round bye, so you go flat into your bye, and then you come back 2 weeks later. It's almost as if you haven't played for 3 weeks. Given the parity in this league and who you might not have at quarterback, it spells trouble for this Western team. Lowering the shoulder, Ian Noble fighting still. He takes it out to the 35-yard line.
Well, some of the mechanics haven't been there and running the team because he hasn't had an opportunity, but Ian Noble has given them at least a bit of a fight and a spark, and he's taken on blockers down the field and been scrambling, showing that he's willing to try and will this team to offensive progress. Just needs some help from the guys around him.
First and 10, Western at the 35. And here you see the lowering of the shoulder, and I think Mr. Festeriger will hear it in the film session.
And he's wearing 15, but that's not Tim Tebow. That's Ian Noble.
Although 6'5", 200 pounds, big boy. He goes over the middle and is picked off. Andrew Liu gets this one, and he'll take it down to the 43-yard line. Another turnover. And another big play by the Gaels defense.
Well, Devin's papa, Tracy, the defensive coordinator here, he's going to be real proud. And Devin Sheen's papa, Coach Sheen's real proud because this defense is putting on a performance today on all levels. Started with the front seven, linebackers getting busy, and now the secondary starting to take over.
You know that. Yo, rest in peace, Cash, baby. Cash, you get IC.
That's what's up, baby. Defense right here.
Duck.
Mcphee decides to run with it. Kruba will force him out of bounds. As Mcphee goes up and over the advertising.
Gets an applause for his work from the student section.
I'm impressed with the vertical. I'm not sure how good Burlington Notre Dame's basketball team is, but I know they got a pretty good football program.
Well, maybe even not a track star. He's not a hurdler, that's for sure.
A little wobbly on the dismount.
Has to stick the landing.
Yeah.
What are you giving him, Russian judge?
That's around a 5'6". But I'll tell you what, I'm giving him an 8 in this football game. He has been the maestro of this offense and haven't been able to finish. A lot of Swedish, no finish in the red zone, but given the defense, they haven't really needed it.
And I think as this game, if it continues to get out of hand, we may continue to see him in this game late because this is a guy still learning, still needing these reps and being able to see and read different defenses is important to his growth, and also this is a great confidence booster for him moving into the playoffs, whereas I think Western may take some guys out of the game. Billy Mcphee is going to get a lot of opportunities to air it out.
Granberg the carry. He'll pick up the first down and 7 yards on second down. If you were wondering why there was a bit of a delay between plays, Alex Carroll was down on the field for the Queens Gaels. He jogged off under his own power.
But this is a great recipe here today for the Queens Gaels if they want to win another Yates Cup. Billy Mcphee, be smart, take care of the football, 0 turnovers. That defense, stop the run early, then bring the pass rush, create turnovers, 6 of them.
Granberg drilled by Luke Retta in the backfield. He loses 6 yards. And if you recognize the last name, think mustache, think 3-letter network,
yes,
and think that's hockey.
Yes, that's hockey. And his father is very good at his job, and Luke Retta has done a very good job for this defense in the middle of it. And big shoes to fill, and he wasn't the first name they chose to fill them, but he will end the year as their starting middle linebacker, and he deserves it. No one works harder on this team than Luke Retta.
McPhee on second and long goes over the middle, and you heard the footsteps of Luke Retta as Justin Chapdelaine had to slide down to avoid a huge hit, and he's still down. You're going to see it come right into your living room.
Not only did the head snap back initially, you heard it there, it snapped back and hit the turf.
Chapdelaine back up to his feet as the Western Mustangs may have come in here the walking wounded, but there's some big names for Queens being worked on in this game. Chapdelaine, Miniachi, Woma, Carroll. Connor Moen lost early. Also the son of someone who works in the broadcast business. Also played in the CFL, Don Moen. Former Argo All-Star and current Senior VP of Sales at the Score. Ben Roberts takes in the punt. Takes it across the 15 to the 17-yard line. 5:17 left in this third quarter. And if you came into this game with questions about Queens, despite the fact Western has some starters sitting on the bench, have some of those questions been answered?
They've been answered, and I've taken out my red marking Sharpie and I've put an A and followed it with a plus. And I thought this team was real, a team to be reckoned with, a team that's dangerous down the stretch. Now I know for sure. It's not a thought anymore.
Noble still at quarterback. Garrett Sanvito on the reception across the 30-yard line to the 31. Pickup of 15 on first down.
Sanvito was a big guy for them early, running the ball. Another one of those guys who they used that jet sweep with. They need to get him up to speed as a receiver, because then he's a real dual threat and he can stay on the field for the entire ball game.
Highly recruited out of Vancouver College in Vancouver. Decided to go east, young man. And with the flag down and whistle stopping this, Western appears as though they'll back up even more.
And that last play call had an option with Noble.
Illegal procedure on Western. 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
That shot of Marshall said a lot. The vultures swirling
around him.
You see the movement as they tried to pull.
And it's something that learning the third different cadence this year, it's something that's going to take time. It's not, you can't just roll out of bed and be a good offense.
Noble on 1st and 15. Again will run. Flag comes out. And Noble's tossed to the turf by Jeff Mutati. Another one of the rotation of linebackers here at Queens that have flown through this football game. Another penalty against Western. And you'd have to think that Queens will accept.
Holding on Western, 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
I don't know if there's going to be a lost student in the country as you see the hold right there that is more sore on Sunday and Monday than Ian Noble, because he's taking a lot of hits that Greg Marshall doesn't want his quarterback taking.
Second half already, the 5th penalty against Western on a quarterback draw on 1st and forever. And Noble picked up 6 yards on that first down. Maybe Osi Ukwoma.
Yeah,
you're talking about lost students with bumps and bruises.
He'll be pretty sore as well, but his bumps and bruises will feel a little bit better with a W.
So Noble waits for the call from the sidelines on what amounts to now 2nd and 19. Completes out to the flats, and Raul Madden on the reception.
And he is a guy they really like in the future to be an explosive player on offense. It's not because of his last name, and it's named after some great video games and Madden, different spelling, however. But a real smooth athlete, runs great routes. They just have to bring him up to speed so that he understands all 300 of the different routes he may have to run in this offense.
His first career CIS reception.
Now let's go stands, into the stands.
Sets up a 3rd down. And Darrell Wheeler punting. It will hit the turf in front of Alex Carroll from his own 32 with a flag down. He goes down as well. Sure-handed special teams tackle by Jeff Brooks, but Queens gets it back with a 28-point lead when we return. Time now for the Pizza Pizza Fan Cam, brought to you by Pizza Pizza, the official pizza of the OUA. Order your favorite pizza before, during, or after the game. Pizza Pizza, always hot, always fresh. I think that said OPP, and pretty sure that right now Queens is down with OPP because they're abusing this Western team. Undefeated on the season. Granted, I've already locked up their postseason first round bye and home field throughout in the OUA playoffs. So they aren't playing for much except for one of the greatest rivalries in the nation.
Still, this loss for me is troubling, and more so for Greg Marshall. And it's because it's one thing if they were being out-physicaled, outmanned, that Queens was just too athletic. But a lot of their issues have been fundamental issues, they've been procedural issues, they've been execution issues, and that just can't happen.
2nd and 10 from their own 28. Mcphee looking for Chapdelaine, who doth protest. But sliding down to make the catch, it wouldn't have been a first down anyway. And the punt unit comes out. DJ, this hasn't been a good place for the Western Mustangs of late. Last time they were here was the 2009 Yates Cup, the 102nd edition. And in what was a monumental game, they fell short. Queens punting to Ben Roberts, has it go off his fingers. He gets it back, but it limits the gain to a couple yards, and Western will take over from the 54. But I mentioned that Yates Cup, and it was an instant classic. Brannigan looking to take advantage to the end zone. Touchdown, Queens. Walter's got a man wide open. It's Jesse Bellamy. Touchdown, Mustangs. He's got speed. He's got a Gaels touchdown. And And Falls is down on the turf and slow to get up. He's going to get rid of it, though. Throw it, and it is incomplete. Michael Falls gave it his all. And in the end, it wasn't enough as we get back to live action and Matt Brazier on the reception. But you were here for that football game. Have you seen a better OUA game?
I don't think I've seen a better game, any level, and I'm willing to say any sport.
On 2nd and 5, it is complete to San Vito, who slides down to make the reception inside the 40-yard line. Western running the hurry-up offense. And I know that some people will chuckle at that, thinking, it's CIS football, how can you say that? But if you watch that entire game start to finish, he had the top 2 passers in the history of the CIS flagged down, as you saw San Vito down at the 22. Another one comes in late. And it must be laundry day for the Western Mustangs, because they've seen plenty of pink on the turf today.
Yeah, laundry day, they're going to need some bleach, a couple bounce strips, because they're doing a lot of loads of laundry on this field. And that, above all, is what is going to drive Greg Marshall completely insane.
That may be your first. Brendan Dunn.
Also holding against Western. That penalty's accepted. 10 yards, repeat first down.
No lip reader, but I believe he said Donovan Bennett is one of the greatest color guys in the history of football. Thibodeau goes up to get it. Webster submarines him, but Thibodeau quick to jump back to his feet.
I think my adeptness at calling a football game with you is the last thing on Greg Marshall's mind. One is that Thibodeau gets up safely from this hit, and 2 is that he has some plays that don't end up like that.
On 2nd and 20, running the hurry up still, and wasn't much available, so Noble tried to just head up the middle, and instead he'll head off hobbling. You wonder if he might not go back to Ben Rawson, see what he can get out of the younger kid.
Well, Ben Rawson finished some games for them down the stretch when these two have been juggling time, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was given the first quarter, if he's also given the fourth quarter. I think it'll be telling whether or not this is still a debate or whether or not he's decided that Noble is going to be his guy come hell or high water unless Donnie is healthy.
Carroll lets it bounce at the 15, steps out at the 19-yard line. 30 seconds remaining in the third quarter. It almost feels as though this game is done.
Well, the crowd seems to think so. There's longer lines for the Beaver Tails and for the bathroom than there are to watch this game. And Western has not given any indication on either side of the ball that they're competitive with this Queens team.
I'll tell you what, Greg Marshall will not stop coaching in this one. And I'll tell you why. Last time Western was shut out, 1973. Mcphee over the middle, completes. Giovanni Aprile turns up the sidelines, and they finally get him out of bounds, but not before another big game for the very talented sophomore. 24 on the catch and run.
Mcphee hits him on time, in rhythm, hits him in stride, puts the football away, ball on the outside arm, and then he's just an athlete. And he shows you what Senator O'Connor slot backs do when you get them the football in time and space.
Must be talking about Sherwin Bend. Of course, Uncle Timmy's alma mater as Mcphee goes down. I also played slot back, but had nowhere near the talent that Aprile has.
Just the power.
That'll do it for the third quarter. The #1 team in the nation, not only on the ropes, they are bruised, battered, and scarred by a Gaels team looking to make a statement. That statement is being made on the scoreboard. Queens may lead by 28 heading into the fourth quarter, but some cause for concern as Billy Mcphee walks into the locker room after the third quarter after this play, DJ. Couldn't quite see what happened, but it may have been the head or the neck. I want to speculate, of course.
Of course. He was able to walk off, as you saw, on his own power, which is a positive sign.
Ryan Mitchell comes in, immediately goes to the air, and immediately hits Giovanni Aprile, who lost the ball out of bounds. And they'll say it remains with Queens. So the big play stands, and Ryan Mitchell's quarterback efficiency improves. Now 7 of 9, close to 200 yards on those 7 receptions. This one, 47.
And they have an assembly line of quarterbacks throughout the years here at Queens, and they just take another model off of the shelf. And Ryan Mitchell says, I'm not afraid of the spotlight. Let's go deep down the field to the big playmaker on this offense.
Last week he threw one pass. It was an 88-yard touchdown to Giovanni Aprile. Obviously, they have a play call when Ryan Mitchell comes into the game as he went right back to Aprile. This one, Tom Howes. The slot pack was shoved out of bounds after a gain of 9 on first down. So 2 plays for Ryan Mitchell, 2 straight passes for the freshman out of Scarborough's Birchmount Park.
And at Birchmount Park, Coach Sheehan was telling us in his recruitment, this was a guy who ran a full spread offense, so he's understanding the concepts in the passing game when you're looking to spread the field, and like that play, use the width of the field as your friend and get the ball out of your hand quick.
Pressed into emergency action as Billy Mcphee leaves the game. On 2nd and short, they run the quarterback sneak with Mitchell. Picked up the first down.
There is a flag on the play.
Flag down as we check the third quarter stats, and it's been all Queens.
It has, and not only are the turnovers bad, but the time of possession and how often do we...
On Queens, repeat 2nd down, on your penalty.
How often do we see a Western football team that runs the ball so well get dominated in time of possession?
And you see those 98 rush yards from Western, but much of that coming from Ian Noble. And this is a team who you might remember averages, I say averages, 311 rush yards per game. So on 2nd down, because of the penalty against Queens, Mitchell went back to the air and back to Aprile, but that one's knocked away by Simon Baru. So again, Dan Village, the busiest man on the field, comes out to attempt another field goal. He's already made good on 4. Made from 24, 16, 17, and 14. His lone miss from 42. This one again inside the 25. The tee goes down at the 22. And he missed it. Wide to the right, it'll roll through for a single, so it's a 29-0 lead for Queens, but these struggles continue for Dan Village. And this is a guy who, as I mentioned earlier, DJ, was a 3-time OUA All-Star.
And he struggled with the intermediate kicks. He's had a lot of longs so far this year. Those chippies have been a little bit more interesting than Coach Sheehan would like from his veteran kicker.
Western chooses the scrimmage from the 35. The kick was no good, so they have to scrimmage from the 35. Noble still in at quarterback, and again will run. Nice little cutback to get him near the 50-yard line. Took a pop from Sabrin at the end of the run. Gain of 14 on first down. You mentioned Sam Sabrin earlier. This is a guy who, instead of playing his final year of high school football, decided to play junior football with the Myers Riders in Ottawa. Handed off to Riva. And those are closer to grown men playing that type of football in the Ottawa area.
And that's a great point, and that's a big part of the reason why he was able to step right into this defense and be a contributor right away, and that's the reason why he's able to get guys lined up as well as one of the smartest guys on this defense.
Sam Vito on the reception on 2nd and 9. He'll pick up 2. Well, Moody drags him down, and it'll be 3rd down.
3rd and 6.
Western electing to huddle here and stop playing their hurry up because they're trying to give that defense that is reeling a rest.
It's 3rd down, they're going for it. Like DJ said, just trying to get a rest, and they won't get it. Instead, the defense will come out on the incomplete pass intended for San Vito. You saw Billy Mcphee back on the sidelines for the Queens Gaels, a good sign for this squad. We're telling us that the wind was knocked out of the starting pivot, and he will probably not return given the shoulder pads are off.
Right. And they just need to get him the Adidas team hat, and he officially can just sip from the water bottle as a spectator.
First and 10 after the turnover on downs. Mitchell again to the air. Hits Granberg out of the backfield. He's tossed down quickly. Bo Landry on the tackle.
Bo Landry is a guy who makes so many plays in the backfield against the run, blitzing from his halfback position, that if this linebacking core continues to struggle, they may have to move him to Sam and use some of their depth in the secondary to cover for him. A guy like Calvin Johnson maybe moving to play his spot.
Bo Landry, a player in his 2nd year out of Kitchener. To the flats again. Shut the lane with another reception, tackled by Sean Blake. Call it a gain of 7, but it'll be 3rd down.
And Blake, another guy who didn't start this ball game at the linebacking position, started the year as a linebacker, and I don't know if I've ever seen a team looking to make a deep run that is still auditioning guys to see who their guys are going to be. Whether it's Finnegan or Baru on the corner, whether they take Shrubsole and put him as a halfback or as a corner, a guy who's not even dressed today. They're trying to find the answers on which 47 give them the best chance to win.
Well, the answer was because they had such a great offense, but we're not seeing that today.
And that great run game and that great offense kept this defense off the field and masqueraded a lot of the issues that they had on defense. And now they're trying to figure them out down the stretch.
Queens, with a personnel problem, decide to take a penalty to move it back as opposed to taking a timeout. So it's 3rd and long. Village comes in. And we can talk all we want about the struggles of the offense of the Western Mustangs, but let's give full credit to this Queens defense. We were wondering whether or not they were real. We have got the answer as Ben Roberts with a solid return out to the 35-yard line, but a flag down that we will check on when we return to Richardson Stadium. Welcome back to Richardson Stadium. Time for our Athletes of the Week, brought to you by Pioneer Energy. Refuel, refresh, reward yourself at Pioneer today. Hockey and rugby represented. Matthew Pinder of the RMC hockey team is your male athlete of the week. Kayla Root of Queens rugby team is your female athlete of the week because of her game-winning try as Queens beat Trent and advance to the OUA semifinals. Some whistles as Ian Noble remains at quarterback, trying to find some sort of groove. And I ask you, DJ, as he drops back and dumps it off to Nathan Riva, who brings it across the 15-yard line. Is this team good enough to win the Yates Cup without Donnie Marshall?
Well, this team isn't, but when you bring back Duff, when you bring back Bull, both guys who are going to help the run game, and Bull, obviously, their #1 receiver. When you bring back Brian Marshall, who's probably their most improved player offensively.
Riva with a big hole, and he will pick up a first down across the 25-yard line.
I mean, this is a defense that's very good against the run. Doesn't look like it today, but when you bring back Mike Van Praet, when Fournier is helping them rush the passer, I think it is.
Riva's slow to get up. You can hear the Western sidelines imploring them to get going, but the starting running back is beat up. Noble over the middle, tried to get it to him, and it's incomplete. Flag down on the play. You mentioned a lot of different guys, and most of them are expected back for their semifinal appearance after the first round bye. I'm not sure that Donnie Marshall will be part of that group, though. And you mentioned a lot. I mean, Zach Bull, Brian Marshall, both starting receivers. Matt Norman, best offensive lineman on this team. Dan Duff, an extra offensive lineman as a fullback. As Thibodeau makes the reception and picks up a first down across the 40-yard line. I mean, these are all starters and all among the best, if not the best, at their position for the Western Mustangs.
And Brent Wheeler, another guy on defense that allows them to rest Wad, keep him fresh, and gives them a great pass rush.
Noble to the 50. A pickup of 8 before Sam Sabrin drags him down.
Another guy I would add that they get back after this ball game is Andrew Thibodeau, because they really haven't had him all year, and he's been one of the lone bright spots here today, and if he can continue to play well, he adds another dimension to this offense.
There's a quick reception to the outside. Brazier takes a hit. Ben Dandria lowers the boom, but not before a first down and a big pickup for this Western offense.
Ben Dandria says this is what it means when you come over the middle. I didn't just get a tattoo, I tattoo people, and that's how we win Vanier's around here. And if they're going to get back to that level, Ben Dandria has to be a big part of it. And he has a great year and has had some huge hits on and off our air over the past couple of years, and that was one of them.
It's like Will Moody has taken a knee on the turf, and I'm getting chirps from several Senator O'Connor slot backs.
Oh, are you really?
On my phone right now for not mentioning them in the lineage of Senator O'Connor slot backs. But you know, it's interesting that as we progress in this football game, I mean, I know that this defense is good, and as we mentioned, all those guys who are out of the lineup, I think the question remains a little bit, just how good is it? Is it a Yates Cup defense? Is it a Vanier Cup defense? Because they've impressed the hell out of me in this game. This complete to Jordan Noble as Ian Noble finds his groove, no relation.
Well, I'll say this. They barely gave up 20 against Mac, but that was a pick 6 that accounted to those points. Gave up more than 20 against Laurier, but they were throwing because they were blown out in the first half. This defense doesn't give up 20 points to anybody. I don't care if you're good or you're not good. So if really they say, hey, Billy Mcphee, run out there, get us 20, we win. So yeah, I think this defense is good enough because they know offensively, if we get 3 touchdowns, we're going home happy. We run the ball with Granberg. Every time he gets 100 yards, we win games.
It's third down after Guoma made another tackle in the backfield. Call it 3rd and 3. Noble looking for the quick hitter to Thibodeau, and it is incomplete. TJ Chase Dunawa there stride for stride, and the bagel remains on the Western side of things. Waiting for the laugh out of that.
At which one? I applaud the females dance moves. The guy, we need to work with him post-game.
A fitting song, though.
Well,
let's see if you can run it.
Well, Queens can. Western couldn't or hasn't been able to.
Time now for the Bel Air Direct quarterback matchup, brought to you by Bel Air Direct Car Insurance. Visit BelAirDirect.com for a car insurance quote today. And Rossing and Noble may have shared the duties, but both of them outplayed by Billy Mcphee in this one.
Yeah, and the thing there is, question mark on whether or not it's going to be Rossung or Noble moving forward.
Gain of 1 on first down, sets up 2nd and 9. Granberg the carry, dragged down by Dane Hansen. Picked up 6 as he continues to add to the totals. And you wonder with Granberg in there if Coach Sheehan isn't hoping to get him to the 200-yard plateau for the 3rd straight ball game.
To help him in his quest for maybe some postseason awards, because down the stretch he can run it. Yes, indeed, he can run it.
Came into this game leading the nation in rushing. However, other conferences will catch up with one more game as the OUA season comes to an end. Punt to the wide side of the field, and a great punt by Village, chasing Matt Urin all the way back to his own 10-yard line. Western looking to avoid being shut out for the first time in a long while. Get it back down 29. Western Mustangs haven't been shut out since 1973. They are on the verge of being shut out against their arch rival here in Queens. Down 29-0. Just under 6 minutes remaining in the 4th quarter. Noble tipped it incomplete off the hands of Madden, off the hands of Ben Bandria. Little tip drill, although maybe some on the Queens side of things, at least in the crowd, wondering whether or not that was a catch and fumble. Clearly didn't have possession. Noble forced out of the pocket once again, and he will be submarined before he can get to near first down yardage. And once again, Western will have to punt. There are a lot of Western alumni across the country, including the young man standing to my right, who have played in those silver helmets and haven't been shut out. In fact, neither of our lifetimes have we seen a Western shutout.
Yeah, I mean, there's not even talk about being shut out. That would be blasphemy. And the back talk between Queens and Western alum, a lot of smack talk, and definitely if they can add that it was a shutout, will make it that much more embarrassing come Monday morning.
Carroll takes it in and across the 44-yard line. Let's take a look at the OUA standings, because we're starting to get a clear picture of what will transpire. And with McMaster rolling against Ottawa, it looks like Queens will settle into that 3 spot.
They will, and they will then take on Laurier, who is up 15-3 against Guelph. McCahill with a pick 6 against Jazz Lindsay. And a rematch from a game that was very different from this one was a shootout right here at Richardson Stadium.
I don't know if you want to face either of those teams in the postseason. Going to hand it off to Aprile, who gets the corner before Hanser pulls him down at the 36.
Well, in that game, I know I would love to watch it, because physically at the quarterback position, you've got 2 guys who can sling it, that are talented as far as throwing the ball and making all the throws, just like Kyle Quinlan. They're just not there yet as far as mastering an offense. So we could see some big plays going both ways.
Ryan Granberg now up over 1,000 yards on the season.
Get there! Come on, let's go.
They hand it to him right side, inside the 25-yard line. And you know, DJ, coming into this game, I had questions for who would be the MVP in the OUA.
Oh, did you?
A very tough year to decide who would be the OUA MVP, given the suspension to Quinlan, given the injury to Donnie Marshall. several different things. If you go best player, best team, it's tough to decide who it was. So I went with Ryan Gramberg, and he is showing that perhaps I made the right choice.
When did you fill this out? 5 minutes ago?
Craig Russian the carry for the game. Let's continue to look at my picks, and then we'll get to yours. But Ryan Gramberg has cemented his position as my OUA MVP this year. Steph Potasic, given the job that he's done with the suspension to Kyle Quinlan, I give him full credit for that. Osiu Kwoma, my lineman of the year. Tyler Varga not playing in this football game, 15 touchdowns. I think we'll see it's yours. And my stand-up defensive player of the year, go back to Mac and Ryan Chmielewski.
Not bad.
There's a completion to the outside. And that's Boris Isakov who makes the reception to take us down to the 3-minute warning. Queens knocking on the door once again, up 29-0. It's a rivalry that began in 1929, and it might just be the greatest rivalry in Canadian college football history, but that alumni group will smile because right now Dan Village is attempting a 25-yard field goal, and he has missed it again. But it'll sail through the end zone for a single, and it's a 30-0 Queens lead with under 3 minutes remaining in this football game.
I don't care what the weather is like on Monday. Those applied science and engineering jackets are coming out of the closet, and they're going to be worn across this country.
All right, let's take a look at who your awards go to this year in the OUA.
Oh, you mean the correct choices?
Yeah.
Well, first of all,
my
MVP
goodness.
is, that's right, Austin Kennedy. He's the most valuable guy to that squad. When Sam Mallion went down, he took over that team, and no one thought Windsor was going to be in the playoffs. That's why Joe DeMore is my coach of the year. And other than that, we're pretty similar.
Raul Madden gets the shovel pass, picks up 15 yards.
My D lineman, I was battling. I had two guys. I had David Lee, Western, Osiu Kwoma, Queens.
Yeah.
Two vets.
I wouldn't argue with
two
either.
Guys I like, and I said I need some proof. Whoever plays better, the proof is in the pudding. Today gets it. I think OC's had a better day.
Another shovel pass, that's incomplete. Looking for Madden again. It'll be second down and 10. He's already won that award in this conference.
That's old hat. That's old hat to him.
Saturday? It's a good Saturday. Tune in next week.
He's giving us promos as well. He does it all, Osiu Kwoma. He's mic'd up, getting sacks, winning awards.
He'll be featured on OUA Uncut. So you can take this little soundbite. Both DJ Bennett and Tim McAuliffe have said their lineman of the year is Osiu Kwoma, and he has proven it today. Noble on the reception on 2nd and 10, picks up a couple. And this Queens defense, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, 1 touchdown on those fumbles, 3 sacks, and they're on the verge of the first shutout of Western in 38 years. Noble on 3rd down trying to keep it alive. And with 2 minutes left, they will turn it over on downs again. And it's safe to say that Western will be shut out for the first time since 1973, unless they can come up with a look.
Way to hit him.
This is a performance that all those defenders can be proud in. Miniachi, who's down early, one of the leaders of the group, and if they end up playing Laurier, they've got their work cut out for them.
Mitchell on 1st down will throw the ball again. Complete down the sideline. Stepping out is Boris Isakov. And some of you may be questioning why Queens would go to the air in this situation, but they got to get Ryan Mitchell ready.
They do, because it's a better option for them, most likely, to have him as their starter than rather move Chapdelaine back to the starting quarterback position and have an interruption at both spots. Chapdelaine, probably your second best receiver. Keep him at his spot where he's comfortable and making plays.
Tell you what, Isaacoff almost walked that tightrope. Very close. They hand it off, draw play. Russian, great name for a running back, and he will take it inside the 10, down to the 5-yard line, close to 20.
Great name for a running back and a great play call when you've had so much success through the air. Give it a QB passing drop and then just slip it to him. Pretty much a draw play, but not as obvious. Another nice gain, and they're marching once again. Western's had trouble scoring. Queens hasn't. They've been down in the red zone time and time again. Now, will they punch it in for 6, possibly 7 points, or settle for another field goal?
I'll tell you what, if these two meet in the postseason, there will be a score to settle.
Yeah.
Not only for this game, but for last year. Western embarrassed Queens on national TV last year, 46-10. They're returning the favor here. If you go back to the 2009 Yates Cup, Western still believes that score needs to be settled. And it will be settled on the score.
Ooh, I like how you did that there.
If they end up meeting in the semifinal.
Way with words, Timothy McAuliffe. Yeah, no, but the guys who were on this 09 team, they say that loss still bothers them.
Yeah.
That great game, and they played so well, and they couldn't get it done. So even after they throttled them in London last year, that's going to bother them.
Yeah.
This one's going to bother them. I'm rooting that we see these two teams match up again.
And given the circumstances in the OUA and how it's played out in this final week, that would happen in the semifinals. Now Russian the ball carry. And they'll say he was stopped at the 1-yard line as he searches for his second rushing touchdown of the season.
Given the circumstances and what kind of year it's been in the OUA, you can pretty much throw 6 names in a hat, pull them out, and that could be our semifinal matchups or our Yates Cup matchups, because I can't figure it out. And I cover it.
I can tell you what our quarterfinal matchup will be.
Oh, what's that?
Let's see what transpires here. Mitchell on the sneak. Doesn't get in. It'll be 3rd down. And I'm guessing, given Village's struggles, you don't want to put him in the situation of missing another field goal. They'll just leave the offense out there.
Well, that short hash mark was pretty muddy. Those chip shots from a short angle are often more difficult. And it would be nice for young Russian or young Mitchell to get in the end zone.
And this will test the mettle of this young defense out there for the Western Mustangs. It means not a heck of a lot on the scoreboard, but to the kids out on the field right now, this play means a hell of a lot. They hand it off, touchdown Queens. Craig Russian. And a fitting finish to this football game, because it has been all Queens.
From start to finish, they came out of the locker room the better prepared, more emotionally ready team. They out-physicaled them, they outworked them, they out-executed them. It's been a clinic, so to speak.
The Oil Thigh plays again. Flags fly before Village can tack on the extra point and make it a 37-0 ball game. 37-0, undefeated, #1 team in the nation.
There's a lot of possible score lines that I thought I might see today on both sides. That's not one of them. And now how far do they drop?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing.
Applied on the kickoff, retry the convert.
You wonder how many of the voting members know that 11 starters did not play in this game. But it leaves Calgary as the lone undefeated.
And you were,
at least among the top 3.
You were one of the first to have Western #1 on your ballot.
Yeah.
I followed suit shortly after and was repeatedly crushed for it, given where I went to school. But I'm not sure. It'll be real interesting to see how far this Western team drops. And at the end of the day, that guy doesn't care.
No.
He just wants his guys healthy, ready to play. Because at the end of the season, if you win your last game, you end up one. And that's what matters.
That's big. Very big. And for Greg Marshall, it's the only thing that has eluded him in his stellar career as a head coach. 7 Yates Cup titles, Vanier Cups, 0.
Yeah, it's the one thing that isn't on his resume, his CV as a coach at this level. He makes Yates Cups like it's going out of style. It's old hat for him. He's not going to like the fact that possibly 1:13 left getting the ball. A shutout is on that resume here for the University of Western Ontario. But more importantly, he wants to get that goose egg off of the Vanier Cup rung and get one of those.
That shutout streak spans his entire career at Western as a running back, a Heck Crichton Award-winning running back. That's before his time as a player. I'm not sure if he's aware of that standing on the sidelines, but if he, like me, has his phone, I'm sure there are some alumni texting him, telling him he needs to score. San Vito to the 25-yard line, and they'll have just over a minute left to break that goose egg. I mentioned that we knew our quarterfinal matchup live here on The Score, and it will be,
drum roll please,
right back here in Kingston. Laurier and Queens met in the regular season. It was a shootout, but it was a shootout controlled by Queens offense. Noble, the throw, completes to Brazier at the 35-yard line. It's a 10-yard gain and a Western first down.
Brazier, another guy who hasn't had the biggest of days, but has been assignment sound, and that's something that Greg Marshall will take into account when he watches the film.
And Western being serenaded by this crowd here at Queens. Here's Noble on second and long. Escapes the tackle, reaches out towards the 45-yard line. He'll be a yard or two short of the first down.
And we'll say goodbye to Kingston after this game and come back in a week. You got Laurier, an offense that didn't do great against Guelph today, didn't do too well against Mac, two of the better defenses in the conference, and now they're running up against this Queens defense that has found their groove, struggled at times with taking care of the football, and we saw what that meant today. It meant bad field position and often points. I'm looking forward to that contest.
I'll tell you what, though, Laurier can move the ball through the air as San Vito bounces outside to midfield, and on third down, keeps hope alive that this shutout may be broken.
Laurier can move it through the air, and also when those two teams got together, one man who did not dress, Shamad Chambers, was out with an ankle sprain. He's one guy that Queens physically, I'm not sure, has an answer for.
Noble takes a hit to gain 4 yards. Will Moody in on the tackle. Under 30 seconds remain here in what has been a thorough dissection of the #1 team in the nation by Queens. The only thing left is whether or not they can keep the shutout. Brazier to the 41-yard line. Under 20 seconds remain.
And I think guys on both sides of the ball are well aware of that shutout streak and what it means to their schools.
Noble to the outside, and I think Chase Dudawa got away with a little bit of a hold there looking for Brazier, and everyone just needed a break with 10 seconds left in the clock.
Yeah, there's a lot of tired football players on that field running up and down on this heavy sodded turf, especially with the amount of rain they've had in Kingston in the last couple of days.
So Laurier will come to Kingston and Windsor will take on Ottawa. Long road trip, but an interesting matchup.
Yeah, biggest road trip in the conference. Windsor, a young team going across the conference to face an Ottawa team that expects to be back in the Yates Cup.
Noble going deep down the sidelines, and the catch is not made. Looking for dinner. But I'll tell you what, it's this Queens defense that's eaten today.
Yeah, they are. And they went for seconds, had a nice little helping, had some dessert, some ice cream, some cherries and some sprinkles, and they're feasting. And it's been a famine for Western offensively. You like that? I was just gonna let that one slide.
Did you hear they get it out?
Yeah.
They're gonna attempt a field goal here to snap this bagel. The pride in this rivalry from both sides. Hairulahu from 48 yards out. And it is well short. The shutout preserved. And the Queens Gaels, domination thorough, win it 37-0. For the first time since 1973, the Western Mustangs are shut out. We'll wrap it up next from Richardson. The rivalry game goes to Queens. In their 129th season of football, the Gaels pick up their 436th all-time victory by shutting out the Western Mustangs for the first time in 38 years. Let's look at the final stats from this football game, and I think Pat Sheehan can hold his head high looking at those numbers and that final score.
And a lot of people asked some tough questions of him after week 1 and 2. Well, those people have been silenced. A dominating football performance. Take your pick. Which area do you want to look at? Time of possession, turnovers, total yards, everything Queens dominated, and they were the better team from start to finish, and a dangerous team moving forward in this conference.
And that domination started on defense, and that's where we go with our Porter Player of the Game and the third member of our crew, Paul Brothers. Paul?
Thank you very much, Tim. It's time for the Porter Airlines Player of the Game, brought to you by Porter Flying Refined. Queens defense, the entire defense is the player of the game. First time Western's been shut out since 1973, and here to represent the D is O.C. Ukwoma. Who are you going to take on this flight with you, pal?
On this flight? I don't know. It's a good question.
There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Tell me, this beatdown of Western's potent offense, how did you guys do it today?
You know, it's just a good preparation. You know, Coach T puts us in a good position to win every week, so I got to get up to him. He's right there if you want to get a little camera shot of him, but yeah, we know he prepared us really well. Western's a good game for us every single season. They're a big rival, so you know we got to prepare for them.
Right. This rivalry, what does it mean to you to win on home field today against Western?
Right there, it means a lot. You know, this team, we had some trouble at the start, and we worked our way out of it. But to beat our rivals on our home field, you know, playing a game, it's big.
O.C., congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Queens are big winners today. Let's throw it back upstairs. Closing thoughts. DJ and Tim McCallum.
The Porter Player of the Game is brought to you by Porter Airlines. Porter, flying refined.
Went for breakfast this morning. Nice diner, pleasant conversation. Our predictions for this game were nowhere close to what actually transpired in this game.
No, they weren't, and I got to give it up to them. Queens was better than anticipated, and Western, the loss of Donnie Marshall is probably more significant than we first thought.
We'll see how long he is out, but Western should get some players back. And mark this down on your calendar. If these two meet again in the playoffs, because a score will be settled on the score. But first, Queens must get past the Wilfrid Laurier Golden Hawks, who you will see live on The Score next Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern for DJ Bennett, Paul Brothers, Chad Walker, Andrea Cuccaro, Raj LaFleur, and our entire crew here in Kingston. I'm Tim McCall saying, see you next week.